what I'm giving you now is a significant piece, a pivotal level of understanding that you could trust. And if you trust it, a lot of things will make sense in the future. But you can't demand proof, because I can't give it to you. The proof itself rests in places that you have to learn to believe in before you can be there to receive the proof. So I'm offering you an invitation to trust beyond the boundaries that you've known thus far. There are 3 significant reasons beings come to this world. Yes, it is more complex than this, but it's helpful to see things within these ranges, categories. They build upon each other. So you always need the first to get the second, you need the second to get the third. But you don't need the second and third to just come for one reason. That reason is to change your karma. Karma can be understood as action, and karma exists in space. Karma exists between planetary bodies, and I assure you, you have lived in other ways on other places. So when we come here with our momentum, the momentum of our presence. And that energy exists, it has a place. If you make consistent kinds of decisions long enough, they set tones, grooves. They could be more regularly understood as music. But the denser it gets, the more it has weight, and the less you can avoid it. So the simple understanding is that over periods of existence, you accumulate karma that inhibit your ability to do other things. If you want to be able to have a dramatically different experience, you have to actively transform the karma you've already created. And thus, we choose to visit new places. The simplest thing you can do is arrive, exist long enough in such a way to change your karma, and then leave unburdened from the karma. Please understand, the earth uses this karma. If you want to simply dump and run, you have an extremely different range of options. In fact, you have a very restricted range of options for how you can experience life on earth. Because if you're not willing to invest in and participate heavily in making this a more beautiful, extraordinary, magical existence, then she's not necessarily going to do anything other than play a little bit rough with you. And thus, if you are just trying to change your karma and release patterns that have not been pleasant for you, you might incarnate as a cow and get eaten. For real. This is how it works. She's shaped an enormous range of opportunities to exist here based in the multiple reasons people come here. And within this framework of wanting to come here and change your karma, there are a lot of different ranges of option. If you have a dense enough range, you might have to live a whole lifetime as a brutal human being. You will suffer, but you will suffer in a way that liberates you from the karma. This is perfectly possible. And as a result, you can leave and you'll be unburdened from it. And then you can take that still further. But as you exist in more complex ways here, you actively create earthly karma as well. And it's important to understand that there is a difference between these two forces. The force with which you arrive on Earth is inescapable, and it operates on orders of magnitude that are entirely different than the karma you create here. Once you exist here, you can choose to experience life for its own sake. Now, I assure you, this is an extraordinary place to be. For some, it exists as something along the lines of an amusement park. Now, I hesitate to share this analogy because it is very much less than the truth, but it is possible to experience it in this less way. And if you're going to be in a diminished range of, wow, I want to swim, wow, I want to learn what an orange tastes like, you can have that experience and then leave. Note, this is different than just wanting to dump and run. You are now making some choices based on the actual experience itself. As a result, you will be more present here. As a result, you might create more karma here. Once you've created that karma, you might have to stay a little longer. Now, this is not torture. This is not even unfair. You can see and will see, perhaps, vicious sides of earthly forces that even smile when you have to go through certain kinds of suffering. I assure you that smile comes within a greater context that loves you much better than you know how to love yourself at such points. And if you don't take this directly, you face the truth of why you came, what you brought, and what have you chosen once you've been here, and what have you created. You won't be able to liberate yourself. Liberation is not just leaving. If you've bumped around spiritual, new agey communities long enough, you'll find folks that are convinced they understand the nature of reality and they want to break the cycle of karma and get out of here. I promise you, this is an extremely limited experience. Because this mid-range, we're still on choice number 2, exists in this form. You come here with others, and together you receive the opportunity to experience life here. It is an extremely unique experience just to be here. But then when you start to stare at the utterly unique opportunities, such as being a child to a parent, being born from another being, learning to make love, learning to subsist on food, learning to be a best friend in one lifetime, and then married in another lifetime, and then siblings in another lifetime. This extraordinary transformation between ways of loving each other is utterly unique here. Gaia, the loving nature, the living presence of this earth, invites us here to experience something much more than this. So the third range is to actively commit to being here to create something unique here. And this is where you must embrace the possibility before you can see it in most cases. Right here, within this living presence of Gaia, we are invited to help create something beyond all of what we have known to be real. All of the many incarnations that many human beings would know of as his story. When you transcend a vision of this clump, this experientially small subsection of what it is to live here, you begin to sense there's something much denser, much more present. We come here with karma that has density, we leave with less density. And the earth composts this spirit and turns it into new soil for a grander existence. And this existence is the third opportunity. We have not yet seen it, not in this life, not in many lifetimes, for those of us who've remembered other ones. You gain access to other lifetimes within the span of human history, and you still haven't seen the visions of what's possible beyond, because the true density of this reality is born out of the work we are doing. We are doing work to exist in these ways. Why would Gaia allow such suffering? How could any loving God allow such brutality and pain? In essence, they don't. They create the opportunity for us to live through it if it's necessary. It's only necessary when people make reckless choices. And these reckless choices come within the context of a greater love that knows full well this body is not yours. This body is alone. You didn't bring this body here. This body is not part of the weight you brought to this planet. This body is alone, composed of components from previous compost piles. The water, the dirt, the minerals, the rock. They all come together to be a body that we give back. We give back to the earth. In fact, you're giving it back every day. Our cells replenish over the course of our lifetimes many, many times. We're passing these elements back through to the earth all the time. There's nothing that stays particularly consistent about this. So when you embrace the truth of these forces, you can begin to recognize that beyond this time is an opportunity to live a much more beautiful existence, free from many of these forms of brutality. Indeed, brutality itself has been formulated into specific time frames, and we only exist within those time frames when we need to. We bring karmas here and we're essentially sorted into different types. And some people get to go to just one simple life and then move through it to something else that's also kind of pleasant. It all depends on what you bring and what your intentions are and how aware you are willing to be. Others might want to experience multiple ranges of this reality, which include many different forms of brutality spread out over many different time frames. This also is an opportunity that some can choose and some have already chosen based in the forces that they bring here and how they choose to live in their initial opportunities. Because many of these choices aren't made all at once on your arrival. Many of them are made after you've been plopped into a body. You live through certain experiences, you make certain choices, and then now you've created earthly karma and you have to do something with it. So you die, you review the time, and what you've done, and what you want to create, and what you have available to you to create. And then you're given another range of some of them are opportunities, and some of them are kind of like, well, you got to do this now because you generated the karma. This is a lot. This is a lot. But if you understand this range, you can begin to see beyond it. You can begin to see into the beauty of a life that it's heaven. For every intent and purpose that we know of, it's heaven. And the beings that shepherd this existence are here. They live within different densities of this world. They allow us, they hold us alive within very specific frames of reference that we know of as reality. But for all intents and purposes, they're essentially different radio stations present in the same place. Make no mistake, your vision that the earth as it stands covered in the territories and nationalities that we know of as this reality with the many different languages, with the vegetation, there's a desert here, there are mountains here. This is one skin. This is one level of clothes in a closet that's full. You can't gain access to see the many other different opportunities that exist here unless you commit to being fully present and responsible for what you've done here, what you brought here, and what you've prayed to bring into existence. And I'm inviting you to pray into existence your participation in a much more beautiful way right here. The depth of beauty and joy, it's beyond all measure that I know of. And as many glimpses as I have received of other ways of being in other worlds, what is possible right here is equally beautiful and much more accessible. We're here. I embrace the challenge to do the best I can with what is in front of me. I embrace the opportunity to be present here again and again in other lifetimes where I get to live the best visions that I've had in this, the best moments, the best styles of sharing and loving that I've experienced in this lifetime. Well, let's live in worlds where that's the norm, where that's the glass of water, not a unique elixir you only get every couple years. Embrace these. Use the best things you've known as ingredients in a prayer to transcend the best things you've known and make something even better, more normal. Share this with us. Many are seeing it, many know it. You know, somewhere deep within you. And I invite you to remember.